He was born in 1899 in Palermo, Sicily, a place where the concept of power was as old and layered as the arid hills. When he arrived in New York as a boy, the chaos of Little Italy wasn't a culture shock. It was a translation. The same ancient rules applied, just in a new, louder dialect. The young Tommy was quiet, observant, with a polite demeanor that masked a preternatural talent for logistics. He didn't get into street fights. He got into tailoring. It was the perfect metaphor for his future career, measuring, cutting, stitching together disparate pieces into a seamless, functional garment. He learned English quickly, avoided flashy clothes, and kept his eyes open. In the roaring, violent world of Prohibition-era mobsters, Tommy Lucchese was the still, quiet note in the cacophony. His early mentor was Salvatore Totò d'Aquila, a boss of the old school. From him, Tommy absorbed a fundamental lesson. Attention to detail is the difference between wealth and prison, between life and death. He handled street rackets, the numbers games, the small-scale extortion, with the efficiency of a bookkeeper. He was building a ledger, not of fear, but of reliability. He was dependable. In a world of hot tempers and impulsive decisions, reliability was a rare currency. His calm was not weakness, it was a strategic asset. While others built reputations on bravado, Tommy built his on being the man who could get the complicated thing done, quietly. The Castellamarese War of 1930-31 was the defining thunderstorm that cleared the air for the modern American Mafia. Young, ambitious bulls like Salvatore Maranzano and Joe the Boss Masseria clashed, their dreams of being capo di tutti capi ending in their own murders. From the chaos emerged a new, smarter model. The Commission, a corporate board of directors for crime, and in the aftermath, a new generation stepped into the light. Among them was Tommy Lucchese, now a trusted lieutenant to the new boss of what would become the Lucchese crime family, Tommy Gaetano. Gaetano was another quiet man, a mustache Pete who preferred shadows. It was a perfect pairing. Gaetano provided the traditional authority, Lucchese provided the modern operational genius. While other families waged public, bloody battles over territory, Lucchese cultivated a different domain, the legitimate world. He saw that the true power wasn't just in controlling the alley behind the factory, but in owning the factory itself, or better yet, controlling the union that worked inside it. His masterstroke was the infiltration of the garment industry. He didn't just shake down shop owners, he positioned himself as the problem solver. Having trouble with truckers? Tommy knows a guy, need a favorable union contract? Tommy can have a word. Licensing issues? Tommy understands. He became the indispensable lubricant in the gears of New York's garment center. His calm, reasonable demeanor made businessmen comfortable. Terrified, but comfortable. The violence was always one step removed, whispered, implied. It was the ghost in the negotiation room, and Lucchese was the friendly medium who could keep it at bay. For a price. He applied the same strategy to politics. He cultivated relationships with Tammany Hall figures, judges, and cops. These weren't crude bribes, they were long-term investments, partnerships of mutual interest. A judge needed votes in a certain district. Lucchese's connected unions could provide influence. A politician needed a troublesome rival quieted. Lucchese's men could have a conversation. He traded in favors, building a vast, unspoken network of obligation. By the time Tommy Gaetano died of natural causes in 1953, the transition of power was seamless. There was no war. There was only the logical, quiet ascension of Tommy Lucchese. The strategist had become the Don. The 1950s and 60s were the heyday of Tommy Lucchese's reign, the Gentle Don. The title was not ironic. It was descriptive. He was a slight man, well-dressed but never ostentatious, with a calm voice and a patient smile. He looked like a successful dentist or a small-town mayor. He lived not in a fortified compound, but in a modest home in the Lido Beach community on Long Island. He was a family man, publicly devoted to his wife and children. This was his camouflage and his power. Under his guidance, the Lucchese family became the most economically sophisticated of the 5 families. Their portfolio was a mirror of mid-century America itself. The garment center, complete control. He could paralyze the industry with a phone call, making or breaking designers and manufacturers. Airports. His infiltration of JFK Airport, then Idlewild, was legendary. He controlled the cargo handlers, the taxi dispatches, the baggage services. Anything that moved through JFK paid a toll to the Lucchese family. It was a river of cash from stolen goods, narcotics, and kickbacks. Unions, from Teamsters to construction, his influence meant he could sway city contracts, halt skyscrapers, or ensure smooth operations. For a fee. The French Connection. Lucchese soldiers were key distributors in the lucrative heroin pipeline flowing from Marseille to New York streets. He kept his hands clinically distant from the street-level dealing, but the profits flowed upwards to him. His greatest alliance was with Carlo Gambino, his brother-in-law through marriage and the most powerful boss of the era. Together, they were the brain trust of the commission. Gambino, the silent spider, and Lucchese, the political fixer. They believed in money, not headlines, in stability, not glory. When the volatile Joe Bonanno tried to upset the commission's balance in the 1960s, it was Lucchese and Gambino who engineered his peaceful removal, using political and financial pressure rather than a war. It was a corporate takeover, Mafia style, but the tension inherent in this gentle approach was psychological. It required immense control, constant calculation. Every smile was measured, every handshake a contract. The peace he maintained was a cold peace, a glacier over deep, dark water. Betrayal wasn't just a personal insult, it was a breach in the system. And the system had to be maintained. When necessary, the gentle Don could authorize a sanction with the same calm tone he used to order lunch. The body would be found in a Jersey swamp, a message only for those who could read it. The violence was efficient, clean, and utterly chilling because of its lack of passion. It was business. No empire, however quietly built, is immune to time and entropy. The first cracks were personal. A diagnosis of a brain tumor in the mid-1960s was a threat no strategy could counter. The quiet Don began to fade, the sharp mind clouded by illness and the treatments of the era. The second crack was generational. The young soldiers coming up, like the volatile Carmine Mr. Gribbs Tramunti, who would briefly succeed him, and later the psychotic Vic Amuso, did not have Lucchese's patience or strategic vision. They saw the power, but not the subtle architecture that held it up. They were prone to the old loud ways he had made obsolete. The final fatal crack was from the outside, the law. For decades, Lucchese's network of political protection had been his shield, but the world was changing. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, could no longer ignore organized crime. Investigators like Joe Coffey began connecting the dots between the calm man in Lido Beach and the rivers of illicit cash. They started to flip soldiers, to use electronic surveillance. The wall of silence began to develop hairline fractures. Tommy Lucchese did not live to see his family's descent into the bloody, paranoid chaos of the Amuso and Casso years. He died in his bed, at home, in July 1967 from the brain tumor. He was 67. There was no massive police turnout, no dramatic last stand. He slipped away as quietly as he had ruled. The official mob turnout at his funeral was restrained, a final nod to his preference for low profiles. His legacy is haunting because it questions our very image of the gangster. He was not a snarling Al Capone or a tragic Michael Corleone. He was something perhaps more formidable, a brilliant, corrupt executive. He proved that the most effective criminal is one who mirrors the legitimate world perfectly, who understands systems, psychology, and leverage better than the businessmen and politicians he manipulates. The Lucchese family, after his death, would become a violent, dysfunctional shadow of his creation, proving that his gentle touch was the only thing containing the beast. He left behind a blueprint for power that was never about ruling the streets, but about owning the blueprint of the streets themselves. He was the quiet man in the back room, the ghost in the machine of New York City, a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the one who never raises his voice.